Super Cool Radio.
Hey everyone, before we jump into the show, I want to tell you about our merch store on Threadless. Shop a wide variety of logos with multiple colors and sizes available for each design. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps us continue to make killer content like this episode. Please visit supercoolradio.threadless.com or the link in the description to shop now. Hello everyone. I'm Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got a great guest with me at this time. He's the lead vocalist for Charleston, North Carolina-based modern rock band Wicked Love. Please welcome Danny Dynamite.
Woo! Yeah! What's up, man? Actually, it's South Carolina, not North Carolina.
Thank you. For some reason, my notes say North Carolina. My apologies. Charleston, South Carolina.
All good. North and South. North Dakota, South Dakota.
That is true. I'll have to get with my writer about that. But thank you so much for joining me from Charleston, South Carolina. So before we jump into everything, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I got a fun question before we start diving into everything Wicked Love.
Shoot, man. Shoot.
What is one movie and one album everyone should check out in their lifetime?
Oh, okay. Do you want to do it like music based or something that like sculpted me as a child?
Oh, that's a too deep question. I will let you choose that.
All right, can I do two movies musically and inspiration wise? I would probably say Hysteria, the Def Leppard rockumentary sort of thing. Like, oh my God, so awesome. And then sculpting wise, I mean, I grew up on like Goonies, Indiana Jones, so a lot of my imagination comes from that. And then albums. Well, I'm gonna say Firehouse's first album.
That's a solid pick.
That was my where my inspiration came from, was from Firehouse. So
I really like that answer because it's such a solid album, but yet it doesn't get referenced a lot. Like obviously Firehouse is huge, but no one really talks about the first album.
Yeah. It's one of those complete albums, Every single song in that album is an absolute banger. You can listen to the whole thing from start to finish. And Firehouse, they came in like 91 in the 90s, so they were kind of a little bit late to the game, and then kind of grunge kind of knocked hair metal off the map. I'm still a little sour about that, but that's okay because we're bringing it back.
That is very true. And yeah, like grunge just obliterated pretty much everything that wasn't grunge. Pretty much got obliterated. Yeah. So
we went from cocaine infused rock and roll and partying to lazy heroin songwriting. Sorry, grunge fans. Oh.
We're 3 minutes into this interview and already getting controversial with everything.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get talked to about that.
but I mean, it was a very huge shift. As you said, it's very high energy glam rock to very sad, slowed down grunge music, pretty much in the span of like a year or two. It really
just like that, man. It was
exactly.
It's like a light switch was being flipped, and it was just like boom. I think everybody was coming down from the coke.
It could be. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Asphalt Ballet. They were like a glam rock band. Right, it was like 90, 91, and then like I interviewed Gary Jeffries, who's the former lead singer of them, and 91 hit. We thought we were gonna like do huge things, and then grunge killed us, and then we're never were the same ever since.
Wow, I'm gonna have to listen to them, man. I probably have heard some of their songs.
Yeah, they didn't get a whole lot of attention, obviously, because 1991 happened. But yeah, I would definitely highly encourage checking them out.
Yeah, I got to check them out, man. It's not very often when I run into an '80s band that I don't really know. So that's really cool.
They're like late '80s, and then they started getting traction in the '90s, and then grunge just wiped them out. So
yeah.
Not a huge shelf life for them, unfortunately.
No. The big thing about like hair metal is like it's like, especially like right now, it's huge overseas, like huge. The Europeans are all over it, man. So I don't know, maybe it's making its way across the globe.
It is like there's definitely been a huge revival of that glam rock style, especially I think probably starting like 2010-ish. And then obviously continuing on until now, like about a decade or so later. But yeah, it fell off for about 30 years. But then like obviously Europe started grabbing onto it, and then obviously now it's kind of been making its way over to the US. Probably again 2010-ish as well.
Yeah, it was tough for us in 2015. We were trying to do something that nobody really wanted to listen to. So
yeah. They had the stalwarts of like the glam rock, like Skid Row, Sebastian Bach, and like they were still persisting, and they still had some huge attention. But if you were a newer band like yourselves, it was definitely a rough start.
Yeah, like Def Leppard came out with a couple albums there. Didn't they come out with one in 2005? I can't remember.
Maybe.
But yeah, there was one album, and it was like really, really good, but it just got overshadowed. I mean, we were full force into pop, and like still riding the wave of 90s rock. You had Slipknot and Limp Bizkit, which I loved. I love all music. So, but I just so happened to sing really, really high. So.
That's true. Plus, they got overshadowed. Like I know, like pop punk and like that emo was really huge at that time too.
Yep, emo. Yeah, I went through my emo phase, like hardcore. Yeah, like I loved. Like I think on my my playlist for my Spotify, it's mostly like State Champs. If you've ever heard of them.
Yep, I'm familiar.
Dude, that guy is an unbelievable singer. By the way, all right, I'm calling you out, dude.
So now, like for you, so what got you into like glam music, and like what made you pursue starting a band?
So I think everything leads to all roads lead to Rome, or in my case, all guitars lead to whores. So I mean, that's where I started. I started to I was a drummer. Right, much like Austin. Austin started off as a drummer, and I started off as a drummer as well. I played for 14 years, and I was in the drum line in school and stuff like that. But just like him, we noticed that. Hey, there he is. Hey, what's up, guy? Just like him, we noticed that playing the guitar, kind of got girls a little bit easier. Yeah. So, I started writing. I think the first song I ever wrote was actually, funny enough, was for my brother. And it was more of like a comedy kind of piece sort of thing. And my mom was a singer growing up, and I would always sing with her in the guitar. I specifically remember singing Eddie Money with my mom in the car, right? And so I think that's pretty much where it stemmed from, was my parents, and I haven't said this in any of the other interviews, but my mom had a boyfriend at the time when I was 13 years old. His name was Steve Long, and he introduced me to Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, and the Scorpions, those three bands. And I think at the age of 13, being in his work truck all the time and helping him with work, I think that's where it kind of started stemming off from Eddie Money with my mom and going more into like the rock and roll with Steve, and that's where I fell in love with it,
Oh no, right on, and definitely like three huge that kind of glam rock, glam metal kind of style bands for that genre, especially in the mid to late '80s as well. So for Wicked Love now, so you have the base work of the kind of music you guys wanted to of you wanted to write and record. How did Wicked Love come together?
So Wicked Love came together. I was Austin's texting me right now. He's saying he's not getting enough service in his car and he just got off work. So he's gonna keep trying. So
Okay.
but Wicked Love came together. I was in the service, I was in the Navy, and I decided that I was gonna leave because I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to pursue music, I'd been in like a high school band before, but never in like an actual band. And every time I went to karaoke, every Tuesday when I was in the service, me and the boys would get drunk and I would end up singing like Firehouse and stuff like that. And I started learning that I was actually pretty good at it, So I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I pursued music after I got done, and I followed a girl down to Charleston, South Carolina. And, I just put myself out there on Craigslist. And I was like, I sing 80s style music. I want to do 80s stuff. And the guitarist for a band called Glam Nation got a hold of me from Craigslist, which is Austin. And Glam Nation was like a tribute band. Like they had the big hair and wore the spandex and like half shirts and basically 3 hours of covers. And so he was like, hey man, I like what I see here. Do you want to try and come over and test you out? I was like, yeah, sure. No, absolutely. 100%. Right. So he gave me his address, and lo and behold, we found out that he lived in the same apartment complex as me. All right. So it was like destiny, man. So I was like, man, I'll just come over right now. So I literally walked down the road to the other like unit section or whatever. And, I showed him what I got. And that's when he was like, man, we're pretty much the same age. We were like 24 at the time. And he was like, dude, he's like, do you write music? Do you do your own stuff? I was like, yeah, of course I do. I think every musician writes their own music, it just depends on if it's catchy and good or not. But, so I was like, yeah, I write my own stuff. And he was like, well, on top of Glam Nation, like, let's start a band. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect. This is what I'm looking for. Right. And Wicked Love was born.
Right.
And now I'm 33 years old.
No, for sure. And I know you guys had some great shows. You just got off a run of shows. I know you played with the Lonely Ones recently as well.
Yep. Yeah, awesome band. Those guys are great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're friends of mine. That I really every time, like, even if I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, I still find a way to like see them live if I can, because they're such awesome dudes and so professional as well.
Yeah. Super awesome music. It's just like slam in your face. It's really, 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 really cool.
For sure, but I appreciate the backstory. It's funny, like, meeting someone online, but yet you live like in walking distance of their place. It
was crazy. It was nuts.
But I mean, I'm glad you guys connected, because obviously you formed Wicked Love, which I really dig the name. It definitely sounds like it's like it would fit in like during the 80s era of music.
Yeah, that's all Austin, man. Austin has a knack for that stuff, Me and him, we've all done like our research. We grew up on this music, I mean, I was born in 89, and I think he was born in 89. So we saw the tail end of the 80s. So it's almost like we feel like we missed out. So we're like trying to, get back in there.
For sure. I know you guys are definitely carving your own path with everything. You guys released the Wild Ride EP a few months ago. Yeah. What was like the writing process for Wild Ride?
It just it's as lame as it sounds. It just like, I don't know, man. It just pours out of us. It just comes so naturally because we love it so much, you know. And obviously we have, every time somebody writes a song, right, you have influences from other bands, right? So, you know how everybody always says there's nothing original anymore, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, yeah, of course, there's billions and billions and billions of songs out there. Nothing's really going to be original anymore. You're going to be taking a little bit of something out of something else, you know, and those are called influences, right? So we had all the influences, we have them all there, right? And me and Austin, we've done, you know, so much studying and have tried to live this life, you know, to a T as much as possible, that it just comes naturally to us now, you know. When it comes to a song makeup and hooks and guitars and stuff. But you also see a little bit of our own individuality and a little bit more modern as well, you know. So because we are mixing those pop punks in there and those 90s hard rock in there as well. So
Oh, for sure. I know it is very hard to, you know, nothing is as original as the point you were saying. But at the same time, you guys aren't just like copying like one certain band or trying to be one certain band. You guys have a lot of different influences, a lot of different styles to your music.
Yeah. And, you know, that we kind of just like fell into that. You know, we knew that we didn't want to be Skid Row. We didn't want to be Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses. You know, we wanted to be something a little bit different. And it was difficult. It was difficult because we had to take 80s rock and roll and mix it with modern rock and roll. And you get this kind of just like, I can't explain it. It sounds different. It sounds different.
For sure, it's a hybrid of a lot of different styles, but obviously, you know, the base is the 80s kind of glam rock style,
Sure.
But it doesn't just, you guys aren't just staying at that base. You're adding a lot of different things to it, but also with the new technology, it's easier to modernize, you know, rock and roll because you have all this different stuff that they originally did not have in the 80s.
Exactly. Yep. But, you know, we still try to use the techniques that they used back in the day. Like, I remember when we were cutting the EP, all right, this is really, really cool. You'll like this. And I don't know if you know this, but when we were cutting the EP, Austin, he's big on sound. I can't really hear anymore because from shooting torpedoes when I was in the Navy. All right. So my hearing isn't really good, but, Austin is a genius when it comes to like listening and hearing stuff. So when we were in the studio, Austin was like, you know, how did Def Leppard get that unique snare sound? Because they have like this unique pop to the snare. And we found out that they took a can of hairspray and they sprayed it into the mic, right, to get that sound, and then they mixed it in with the snare sound as well to get that unique sound. And I'm not gonna lie, we've tried that. You know, so.
But that is honestly really cool. Something I didn't know about their recording style, but see, that's really cool. And obviously, I mean, I don't know if any bands would actually, you know, think of, you know, figure that out, but also implement that into their music. So it's cool. Like what we were talking about with like the 80s style of music, you guys are still using some of the, you know, the unique tricks of how they recorded stuff, but bringing it into the modern 21st century, 2020 too.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it was so cool. You know, if you look back into like documentaries and interviews with all the older 80s bands and stuff, you know, they were really, they were pioneers on the cusp of technology when it came to recording and stuff like that. So it's like, especially Def Leppard and with like Mutt Lange and stuff, they experimented so much in the studios and they tried so many things. You know, that's where you get that backwards crash, you know, You know, like they did that. They reversed the crashes or they reversed the snares. And it's just, that stuff is so cool and interesting.
Oh, definitely. It was very experimental for recording at that time because the technology was starting to become more widely available and actually new to the market at that time. Plus, they're, with the 80s style music, they were like doing kind of just different stuff where it wasn't just rock and roll music. They were including some different elements, different sounds in there as well.
Yeah. It was like I said, it was the cusp of technology, man. They were just getting into it and they were just figuring it out. And like, that's history, man. That's rock and roll history, bro.
It for sure is, but also, I mean, it's so cool, and just some of the stuff it did of how just unique it was that you're talking about with the hairspray can. It's stuff like you don't really think of, like I don't even know like how someone even came up with that to even implement that into the music too, because that's just so unique and just so unorthodox too.
Yeah. As we use this every single fucking day. Why don't we use it in the studio?
That's right. Must have got a hairspray endorsement. Like, hey, we got a bunch of these cans around. Let's start using them more.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Aquanet.
That's right. So for you guys, so the Wild Ride EP, for anyone who hasn't checked it out, what can they expect from the EP?
High energy, right? We came out with that EP in 2015, right? So we have matured a lot, right? So, we cut that EP when we were 24 years old. We didn't really release it to the public. A lot of our friends and family, they saw it and stuff. But, back in 2015, like even 2015, like the internet and internet marketing and advertising wasn't as big as it is now. So it's like, like we had it on Spotify, but nobody saw it. Right. So we were like, let's just re-release this. We have these songs. We want people to listen to them. And obviously we have new songs and we're getting ready to get into the studio and cut those songs, which I'm super excited for because, like I said, we have matured a lot more. So high energy, you're listening, when you listen to that EP, you're listening to kids with a dream, and they're trying to make their dreams come true, but have fun at the same time, so we've got everything in there too. We've got, your party rock, which is like Wild Ride, right? You've got a strong, heavy song like Wicked Love and Troubled Man. And then obviously you've got your power ballad in there, which is Stay. So we're hitting all the fundamentals of the 80s in one EP just to show you what we got and how we can bring it back for you.
I really like how you explain that because that's, from when I listened to it, I was like, you hit all like the dimensions of 80s glam rock, glam metal. It was like, all right, this is pretty cool. Like you guys have a good base to work with, obviously, for being your first release. I didn't know it was released. It was originally recorded, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but it's really cool, and I'm glad it's getting more attention now. You guys released it, and you guys been playing bigger shows, so it's been everything's been helping build up Wicked Love.
Yeah. This isn't just, I realized this, when we dropped the EP and it started getting a little bit more attention and more attention and more attention, it didn't become like, because when we first did it, it was like all about us, but I'm starting to see this community, I'm starting to build up and I'm starting to see all of these people kind of like believe in what we're doing. And it's becoming a community, and the outreach has just been really awesome. People believe in us, people believe in what we're doing. They're having fun with what we're doing. And, that just makes it 100% worth it.
Well, for sure. And having fun should be the first part. It's what making art, making music. That should be the number one goal for everybody. I know it kind of gets tangled up with finances and, everything, all that stuff, but it should be, having fun should be the first thing.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's 80s glam metal, man. It's all fun.
That's right. So for you, as I'm closing out this interview, but a fun question before we start talking about the future plans for Wicked Love. Do you have a favorite song to perform live?
One of my own or somebody else's?
How about both?
Okay, so my favorite song to perform live, this song isn't on the EP, but probably our new song, Body Fire. That song is we just wrote it, man. It's so kick ass. The guitars are amazing. Right, the breakdown is just nasty. Everybody in the band has gotten so much better. Like, and then somebody else's song, I would have to say Uncle Tom's Cabin by Warrant.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that Warrant is another like huge, like Janny Lane is another like big time hero of mine. I love Uncle Tom's Cabin. Down Boys by them is an amazing song to perform live. It's so much fun. I like positive, upbeat songs, man. That's what I'm all about.
Oh, right on, man. I can definitely respect it. I definitely look forward to hearing the new songs by Wicked Love as well, because I like to see how you guys have progressed in the last 7 years.
I think you guys will be considerably blown away.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it, but that does leave me as I'm wrapping up this interview. So what are the future plans for Wicked Love for next year, 2023? Coming up very fast. We got less than a month of 2022.
I'll tell you what, man. It has been busy. We're looking at getting in the studio in 2023. Excuse me. In February or March. We're going to blast out probably 10 songs for an album, and then release those on a monthly basis throughout the year. Get out of Dodge. It's time to get out of Charleston and venture forth and show people what we got in different cities. And I hope you're ready, because we're coming. So yeah, saving money, writing music, writing this album, and going on tour.
I like all of those, and I definitely look forward to rocking out with you guys at some point, because I know we'll have a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. Where you from, man? Where you at?
South Bend, Indiana.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hook us up. We'll come up, man.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested, where can they find Wicked Love online?
So you can go to wickedlovemusic.com. Right, and there will be links for everything to Apple Music, Spotify, our merch. You can come and support us with our merch, get a t-shirt. All that money is going into our coffers to help us pay for everything. Mostly the album that's coming out, because we got to save our money for that, right? Yeah, everything is on wickedlovemusic.com.
Right on. I will drop a link for the website in the description of this podcast as well.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Danny Dynamite. I had such a great time chatting with you, but I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, Matthew. It's been an absolute pleasure. And stay wicked.
That's right. And I don't know if I can say it any better, but I'm going to close out here for Danny Dynamite of Wicked Love. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.
Yeah.